Hi, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeannie White is the producer and writes the blog. I have a very special guest with me today that I've been trying to get on for a while. And she is a Jersey gal just like me, so she will speak her truth. And I have Maureen Spittlehouse on. Hi, Maureen.
Hello, Betsy. Our mothership. Yes, you finally broke me down.
I'm a nudge, everybody.
And it's not because of being shy, because I think Betsy thought I was shy, but actually Jersey girls aren't too shy. It's just that I always felt that most of you were in the trenches, okay? And I'm looking out 15 years. It'll be in October. But then I just, we were having a conversation before, and I realized that lessons learned are just as important to people, because we literally did not have the resources that are available now. When I think of what the membership has given, like Sue and her wonderful publications, and Marcia and her experience, and all of these folks that bring to the table, okay, things that you may not have thought about. And
exactly,
if it makes it easier one time, it makes you get through the night, okay, or one day, then I think we've really given a valuable gift, okay, to our membership. So in terms of advocacy, I can't talk about advocacy without Betsy talking about family systems. And what I mean by family systems, and I gave this a lot of thought, is that there are, lots of families that do not support, or they're part of the problem, not part of the solution, okay? There is a great deal of animus. There's a great deal of resentment, misunderstandings, and what have you. And it can be a breakup of the family, or a breakdown of the family, okay? And I think it's just my observations and what I went through that I can share with you. And I think some thoughts are worthwhile, and I think that they can be implemented. So I'm going to give you a little background, or the folks listening. My mother was diagnosed finally. We could not get a diagnosis back in 2000. And I think when I look at any one of us, okay, who have a loved one, we are all brilliant in hindsight. We're geniuses, okay? But I think she was showing signs in 5 years before. And she was very good at it, though. She just was very good at hiding. So I think we're talking more 10-year span. And to give you an idea of her, her specialness and her ability to weather an awful lot of storms and weather an awful lot of adversity. My mother was widowed at 46 with 5 children, and to raise and to launch, and she did it. And then she was hit with cancer diagnosis, which they said was terminal, which was melanoma. And she said, "Watch me. I'm not going anywhere." And she didn't. And then, Betsy, you call it the mofo. I call it the monster, the brain-eating monster.
Mofo monster, Maureen. It's a mofo monster.
Okay. It's the worst disease I have ever seen, and I hope that I don't have to see it again. Because it's the only disease where you actually say goodbye to a person twice. You say goodbye to the person they were and goodbye to the person they become. And that's really very, very difficult. Nobody, no other disease, whether it's cancer, whatever, has that, particular piece of it. And I think that makes it really very difficult. So that being said, she weathered that storm, and then she retired at 70, and she was okay at 70. And then she was okay at 75. And then we started to notice some behaviors. And she was very, very busy. She was very active, with her volunteer work and what have you. And she worked at a hospital. I bet you would know it, Johnny Reynolds Hospital, up there in the mountains by you. Yeah. So anyway, she had the gift. She was active in the gift shop. I could never get a hold of her. She was that busy, and she had two very dear friends that she worked with, and they had said to us at her funeral. They said, I kind of knew something was wrong. She said the FBI was following her on her way to work. Now, this is one thing a point I have to make. If you hear something, say something, because
absolutely
families need to know this. They can't be in all places at all times. And certainly these two people knew how much she was loved and how important she was to us. So I think that's a point that I would like to get across, that if you have heard, then you're not protecting the caregiver, okay? You're not protecting that, loved one. You need to say, I think you might have to look into that. So anyway, we started on the road, and, they thought that she had the TIAs, which is a fancy way of saying mini strokes, and it wasn't, okay? So by the time she finally was given the test, it was then confirmed, but it was thought to be frontotemporal lobe. Well, frontotemporal lobe does not usually affect older people. It usually starts young. It can start as young as 30. You don't usually see it starting with somebody in their 70s or 80s. But they didn't know that. So they were going along with that diagnosis. But as has been said, they can go through an awful lot of different symptoms of different dementias. So it's really hard to pinpoint. And the only way you can honestly pinpoint, which is what we did, was her brain biopsy. And it was Alzheimer's all along. So it's hard. It's still hard for folks to get it right. And then we decided, I have 3 siblings out in Colorado, and we all grew up here. And I have a sister here in New Jersey. And so we had to get together, and we all worked like you do, Betsy, and it was okay. Well, we'll get some help in, and we'll try it that way. She did not like people in her home, okay? She lived with my sister, and she didn't like people in her home. And she was not very cooperative, and she, really gave them a hard time. And they weren't really proactive with her. They'd rather sit there and watch the soaps, okay, and not so much her, and get her involved. So that didn't work, okay? And we tried so many other things, okay, like taking off, and I would take off, and my sister, it was a little more difficult because she was an educator, and we tried as much as we could. But she was also somebody who literally liked to wander. And that's a tough one, because you don't have eyes in the back of your head. And they can, it's like having a 2-year-old, okay? You turn your head, and they could be running across the street. So that was real tough. And so we tried. We really tried for at least a good month and a half. And then we looked at different settings, assisted living settings, and also nursing homes. They were so immensely expensive, okay, in New Jersey. So we made the decision to send mom out to Colorado, which I have, 3 siblings out there, because it was half the cost. And we could spend her down, okay, more slowly. So she went there. So we decided, all right, well, how are we going to deal with all of, the things that you hope that your family will deal with, okay? I'm well aware that, every family system and every family dynamic is different. And someone said to me, my nickname is Mo, and they said, Mo, you're lucky. And I said, it has nothing to do with luck. It had a lot to do with work and keeping your eye on the prize. And that was giving my mother a quality life as much as we could. So that's where we came from. Anytime we kind of slipped from that, it was, where's your eye? It's not on the prize. So we're very different. Every one of us are very different, and we all have our strengths. And what we did is we took those strengths, okay? I have a medical and public health background, and my sister, as I mentioned, was an educator, and one sister was a banker, and my brother had flexibility because he was in contracting, and my older sister was in government, okay? So the whole Medicaid and Medicare piece, that was her thing. So what we did essentially, Betsy, is we all had our tasks, and we didn't overlap. We had our responsibilities because they drew from our strengths. And that way there wasn't stepping on toes so much. So that paradigm I kind of just throw out to people. I know that everybody's, family situation is different, okay? But we didn't butt heads, and we didn't have so many clashes or anything like that because we stayed in our box. And we did what we had to do in those particular areas. So if that can help someone, it also will eliminate sometimes, I think, and you have said this many times, Betsy, that people, even providers, healthcare providers, they feel absolutely helpless because it's a disease that has no cure. It is a disease still that has not have great medications and particular models of care, and people are frustrated. So yes. When people are frustrated, they tend to get very defensive, and they lash out. And right or wrong, that is a very common response to it because they feel helpless. So I think if we're coming out of the gate knowing that, okay, it sort of diffuses things a bit. And and if somebody has a job to do and it's been assigned, okay, and nobody's stepping in to upset the apple cart here, then things go a little bit, the wheel turns a little bit better. So that is something I wanted to point out, okay, that it can work. And if there is this problem with, siblings or other relatives, okay, putting in their 2 cents or this type of thing and not being helpful, sometimes it helps to say, well, you could be helpful in this area, or, I feel as frustrated as you do, okay, because I don't have the answers. So we just, tried that, and all I can tell you, it had its problems, okay, it wasn't perfect, and, we had our moments, but for the most part, it did, because we had that person, okay? That was our total concentration. Was not our needs, it was Mom's. And we certainly wanted her to have as much a quality of life as possible. And my, sister being the educator, she kept her doing puzzles, doing crossword puzzles up until, a good year or 2 years before she died. And I think it had a lot to do with my sister's stimulation. And, I also I was the one who went up against the doctors, okay? And because some people are intimidated by doctors. Betsy, I'm not intimidated by doctors.
Me either anymore.
Nope. No, we're not. So, I remember one. She had just gotten a new doctor, and he was a young doctor, and he was touting himself as a specialist in gerontology, and yada yada. So, all five of us are in the room. My mother's sitting there, and she's totally lucid, and he's talking to us. And my older sister said, "Excuse me, doctor, but my mother is here, and she's quite capable of answering your question." And it's a question that is directed at her. So, and he stopped, and he caught himself, and he realized, that he was talking, around her, to us. So it was little things like that. We just, in terms of maintaining her dignity, I was extremely proactive about that. Because people, make assumptions that they're not hearing them, that the loved one is not hearing, or they can't comprehend. And from at least all the videos you showed of Matt, that wasn't the case. He could get a lot, at least from the perspective I saw him. Okay, the videos. So, something not to underestimate. So I was very, I was really on top of that. The only problem is that some of the aides, and they loved my mother dearly, and that's all well and good, but the fact is that Mom, we saw her every day. I didn't, obviously, being here in New Jersey, but I called her, and, and the three of my other siblings somebody was always dropping in, okay? And the one thing I did like about this is that you could go in at 2 a.m. You had the combination, so you could go in, because it was not she didn't need skilled nursing, thank God. She just needed supervision and a locked place. So, and she had that. But, so you could walk in and, if they were doing something, you'd see it. So I never worried about that. It's just that they tend to, they loved her, and they tend to wanted to make decisions that they don't have, they don't have a place doing. So we had a little problem with that. And actually, it was towards the end, she had a heart incident, and she had to be taken to the hospital. And she had her DNR, and I had taken over that power of attorney. And it was real clear. Okay, it was really well stated. We went to, we dotted our I's and crossed our T's. We went to a very good attorney, and all of that was, and, well, guess what, Betsy? That was in the nurse's filing cabinet, locked. So.
Wow.
Yes. That wasn't helpful, was it?
No, it wasn't.
What good is a DNR, okay, if it's not there? So the upshot of that, and then the aide, when she was going through this, they had the EMTs come and they intubated her, Betsy. And once they're intubated, forget the DNR. So my mother, the upshot of this is my mother lived 3 more weeks with this monster. When she had said to me when she was lucid, and she had originally done her will. She said to me when she was becoming non-lucid, she grabbed me and said, please, she said, Maureen, please don't let this happen. You make me a promise. And I, of course, made the promise to her. And I ended up having to break that promise because people didn't follow protocol. So it's another point I want to make to our caregivers, okay? Be sure, that those things are really available. I don't care if you have to keep it in your purse. I mean, my sisters, they came as soon as they could, but it was, they already intubated her. So it needs to be, and you need to have, the administrators have to know, that this is your this is your intention, and that this has to be available. And so that's just another point I'm throwing out there. It took me a while to actually come to terms with the fact that I broke a promise, and I think you could understand that. But
yeah.
It was nothing. It was out of my control, but it really was difficult for me. It took me a while to get over that one. So
I can imagine that. It's not that you broke the promise intentionally because you didn't. It was the incompetence of the people that should have been on her chart, given to the emergency, first aid squad on her way to the hospital. And that really was that was their fault. That was not at all your fault, Maureen. But as a caregiver, we always have, the guilt, and that's a whole nother show. But
right, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
a whole nother show. Yes.
You could line us up.
Yeah,
that would be that would probably be your longest show, Betsy.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that but it's hard, and you know what, Maureen? Thank you for sharing your mother's story, because even if it was, I tell people, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there's something in your story that someone's going to hear, that they're going to listen to, they're going to connect with, and they will learn from your story. I mean, I learned because I didn't know the whole story of your mom, and, family unit either can be brought stronger together or could tear a family apart.
Yeah.
But you all worked together. That was nice.
Well, it took work, okay? It really, took a concerted effort, okay, this is how we organized it, okay? So stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And
well, you set boundaries, so that was good.
Yeah. No, we really did. And because, why not feed off of somebody's strengths? And, certainly banking wasn't mine, and my sister, she's president of the bank, actually. She, God bless her, she rose to the top. Anyway, I didn't want to have to deal with any of that. She was a pro at it. And it just seemed to really, the investment really gave us a lot of good feedback. And as I say, people said, well, you're lucky. No, we really could have gone the other way, Betsy, okay, if we didn't say where's the importance, where's the energy directed. And that, that was to Mom. And as it should be.
Yeah. And you know what, Maureen, that's a really good point, because a lot of times, and I know you see this on Facebook in many groups, sometimes the caregiver needs to get out of their own way. Yeah. Because they make it about them. It's not about them. It's about your loved one, what their wishes are. And if you know what their wishes are, it may not be what we want, when we may not agree with it. That's what your loved one wants, and you follow through as best as you can. Sometimes it's not always possible, but you follow through as best as you can. And boundaries in families, very important. I love your family dynamic, that you were each assigned a particular area that was your expertise, and you worked together, and that's great. I wish more families would do that. And that's before all the Zoom stuff, right?
That's for sure.
Yeah.
This isn't strictly telephone, okay?
Right. That's right.
But we also kept each other in the loop. We didn't make unilateral decisions at all, okay? We'd throw it out and say, I think this is the way to go. And we would have, a teleconference, and we would work through that. And that way we didn't step on toes. We didn't hurt anybody's feelings. We bought that. And I think more people, Betsy, if they really would understand the helplessness and the frustration that comes with that, and realizing that can very well translate to anger. And I've heard that in our members when they're talking about the day they had with someone. Okay, you can clearly, it's palpable, the anger, and I think that is a norm. You have to normalize it. You have to say, well, that's perfectly normal. But it doesn't stop the frustration and anger, because we're dealing with a disease that nobody's giving us a lot of hope. So,
right, that's true. When a doctor tells you they don't know what to do about this disease, that this disease has no rhyme or reason, it doesn't have a straight path, it doesn't follow a straight path, everybody is different, it baffles the doctor. So what is a caregiver supposed to do? And yes, we are, frustrated, because, as you know, Maureen, when you're watching your loved one, and I'm very blunt, that, Maureen, and here on Chatting with Betsy, I'm going to not sugarcoat, when you see your loved one lose their skills and deteriorate before your eyes, yes, you feel helpless, because you can't stop this mofo monster from leaving that person. You know what's going to happen, and you can't stop it. And that is the worst feeling in the world.
No, all you can do is try to just maintain the quality, or, see if your loved one, can rise a little bit, okay? Challenge. Give them the challenge. I'm not saying it works all the time, but, you try to strive for that. And we also made the decision to get her off of the drugs, because the drugs back then, well, I don't think they're much better today, quite frankly, Betsy. But
they're not.
Okay, because they were back in her day, they were started too late. Okay, Aricept was started. It was in no effect for her, because she was way beyond that point. Okay, so it didn't slow anything down. And then they had her on Risperdal. How do you say that?
My mother-in-law was on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a toughie. Yep, that's a toughie. Eventually, we looked at her, and she was just doing her zombie thing in the day room, and I happened to be out visiting, because every vacation and holiday we were out there. My sister from here, and I said, "What's with the zombie?" So we made a decision to take her off the drugs, except, the ones that she needed, like the Valium at, night, and she, had a minor heart problem. Well, Betsy, she had moments of clear, total lucidity, as if she never had dementia. And all I can do is I'm theorizing, okay, that somehow these synapses were allowed to do what they, were intended to do without all this interference. I don't know. It's just a theory. But she would have total moments, sort of like that movie, The Awakening, with Rob De Niro and Robin Williams.
Oh, yes.
That's,
mm-hmm.
yes, right. So that's what she would have. And I'd come home from work and she'd say, "Hi, dear," because she used dear a lot because she didn't know who she was talking to. She knew it was her children, but she didn't know. And I said, "Well, as long as you don't call me John, Mom, all right?" Because she only had one son. we're ahead of the game. But anyway, she would be leaving, "How's your day going?" And she would know that it would only last 24, at the most 48 hours. And she was helping the aides, okay? They had to pass their test to become LPNs, all right? And English was their second language. So she was helping them study. They would say,
wow.
"Well, yes." And then they would say, "Bobby, you really have to get to bed." She goes, "I told you, you have 24 hours. Then she was like a deer in the headlights for weeks at a time. But this is what happened. And it happened, I can only say, it happened after we took her off the drugs, which isn't, possible for everybody. I certainly don't recommend you do that without, having medical consult and what have you, but I just going to share with you, that's what happened. And I've heard people, with our movement say, "Well, once I talk, I took my loved one off of this, and things seem to be much better." So I think there's something to that. I don't know. I'm, not an expert, but
I think so. I say my opinion, this is my own personal opinion, folks. I think these medications are just as evil as this disease. The side effects that they cause that I saw in my husband, I mean, everyone is different, but these medications are not made specifically for the dementia brain. These medications are, a lot of them are for someone who is schizophrenic, someone who has psychiatric problems. And it's even black box. I even told the neurologist this. It's black box for people who are 65 and over.
Right.
And that it's not safe. And it just baffles my mind. But I was going to say, we just could only make our loved ones feel loved, make them feel secure. And know that, they know you're in their corner. I have no doubt that knew you were, you were slugging for them, okay? And I made it known that I was the one, okay? I made it clearly, and I did tell that director after all was said and done, okay? Because they were very nice. My mother was on Medicaid, and that was not a Medicaid-certified facility, and they kept my mother. They didn't change her, okay? We didn't have to put her into another, Medicaid-certified, and that, how change is so difficult. So, but I did not have a good experience with hospice with her. It was not. I didn't. Really,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think we need to. That's a whole other show too, Betsy.
That's a whole other show too, Maureen. Oh my goodness, you're gonna come on here a couple of times. Got to cover. What do we have to cover? Guilt. Hospice care. Yeah, that's 2 shows right there, Maureen. You have to come back.
Right there, right there. Here we think, okay, the end is near. Oh, no. No, that's not true. That is not true. You will be challenged, okay, up to the very end. And I just didn't quite need that challenge, all right? So, I did tell the director. I told her about the DNR, and I said that's not acceptable. And if I can make a change for anybody here, okay, there's only room for like 10 or 11 of patients, and I said, put it outside of their room. Just put it outside of their room. That it's there and it's accessible because it's not helping anybody locked in the file with a nurse's file that she only comes in 2 hours a day to give out the beds. She's not full-time. So It was very inconvenient of my mother to have this episode, right, when the nurse wasn't there. So it's just, yeah, you're right, Betsy. We could have a whole other story, but
yes.
But that's, I think that's what's so important, that people do hear that they're not alone, that this is not, just a fluke, that this happens to most of us at some point in the treatment. I just get frustrated that it was, it certainly was named over 200, years ago. And where are we? Okay, that is mind-boggling to me.
Yes.
I don't have any answers. I know the Gates Foundation gave $30 billion. I know that there's money, out there, but I just don't know where it's going. Wish I had.
Yes, this is true. Yeah, it's a very difficult disease to diagnose. They say it's because of the tangles, or it's because of this protein. Now they think it's because of some kind of inflammation, head trauma.
Right.
The more head traumas you have, the more susceptible you are to having a dementia.
Mm-hmm. But they're all theories. They're throwing theories out, but they're concentrating on these plaques and the tangles. Okay, they've been doing that for forever. Okay, I think it's time to look at other possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah, I really do. Because they haven't seen anything yet in terms of what this is going to do to the industry. Okay, healthcare delivery industry. They haven't seen anything, because we're living much longer. And, I'm a baby boomer. You're a baby boomer, okay?
Yes.
We're all, we're all, headed in that direction, okay? We're getting older, and they're going to be faced with that. So.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Tsunami.
But they've been.
It's called a solar tsunami. Yeah.
Exactly. And but they've been warned, okay? They have been warned, and I just think that the uniqueness of our movement is that, like you said, we don't sugarcoat. We tell it like it is. We're not just making recommendations or, giving out associations that can help you or whatever, which, of course, is valuable. But I found it much more helpful with somebody who's been there, okay, and has gone through. That's how I felt, okay? I went to a conference and I could talk to other families, and I found that much more valuable than going to, this Alzheimer's Association. And they certainly have their place, and they're very helpful. But I think personal stories really make it a lot more impacting. But
I agree.
So that's the story of Bobby Riley, and may she rest in peace. I still miss her, and that's something. Another thing is that it seems a long time ago, but it feels like it's yesterday sometimes, Betsy. It really does, and it's
I can
amazing.
understand that. Yes, yeah.
It's just amazing to me, when you think you've gone through all the process that you need to go through, and it just can crop up, and pretty much ruin your day, okay?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Because you have to go through it.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up that, Maureen, and that's another show. Mourning, grieving, folks. I mean, I lost my husband 5 months ago, but I heard someone on another podcast yesterday. It was interesting. This woman lost her son. He was a baby 20 years ago. She's still mourning. I never lost a child, and I don't even want to know what that pain is like.
Right.
And I could just imagine, you don't get over that. We don't get over, and I want to make this really clear to people, Maureen. You don't get over the loss of your mom, your dad, a child, your spouse, your partner, okay? You will always love them. You will always miss them. The key is to move forward in your life. It's baby steps as best as you can. And that's how I look at it. And I made Matt a promise that I would continue on. I feel, Maureen, this is my personal opinion, if I let grief get to me, yes, I acknowledge grief and sadness, and I cry, but if I wallow in it, I'm letting Alzheimer's win, and I'll be darned if I'm going to let that mofo disease win. I will not let it win. Not when it's after Matt's gone.
No, you made a promise, and unfortunately, I had no control over, my promise happening. However, I fixed it. Okay, so at the end of the day, when I look at you, I look at, more importantly, at Josh. Okay, who was one hell of a ass-kicking caregiver, and seriously, I mean, he
was great.
He was, and at the end of the day, he has the satisfaction and just the good feeling that he made a difference in his father's life. And it doesn't get better than that, Betsy. And that's what I walk away from, is that I was the best daughter I could be. And I think that at the end of the day, that's a great feeling to walk away with, if you can, really focus and keep your eye on the prize, as I said, But because it's not going to just, it's going to impact, it's going to impact Josh in a lot of different areas of his life, because it makes you much more empathetic.
Yeah.
I can almost know if somebody is taking care of an Alzheimer's. I don't know about you, Betsy, but I've picked up on that when I've been in, social situations. And
yes. It changes you.
Yeah, it does. And it's certainly, a good change. It's a painful change, but it's a good change, I think. I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna see it in my life. I'm a little older than you, Betsy, but we just got to keep on, because like grief is, you get through it somehow, okay? But you never get over it. You never get over it.
True.
Nope.
Very true.
So, but there's a lot of consolation. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of consolation in knowing that you were a part of somebody so special, and and who you rallied for and fought for, and you can sleep pretty clearly for having done that. As far as I see it. So it was good. It was good talking about it. I haven't talked about it in a long time. So,
well, thank you, Maureen. I appreciate you coming on, and if you would like to, you're welcome back. There's a lot of shows, we could do. You're fantastic, and I just glad I was in nudge and it finally succumbed. To coming on Chatting with Betsy. I really appreciate it, because every person's story will touch somebody somehow differently. And Marcia Burr was my first mentor in Dementiaville, and she talked about people sharing stories. Like, how long have I known Marcia? 5 years ago? Probably 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I guess
she was, talked about that. And we learn from each other. We don't learn from the doctor.
When you say about Marcia, because she has such a gift for words. She is just an incredible writer and speaker. She really is. Yeah. She has got a God-given gift. I enjoy even reading everything she writes. Yes. She's so creative. She's so creative, but she's also a very critical thinker. And so there's never a time you don't walk away with something from Marcia. So, yeah, I get you.
Yes, she was my, first mentor in Dementiaville, and I'm a Ripple of Marcia Burr. If you're listening to this, Marcia, or when you do listen to this, I love you. And she'll be coming on soon, actually, next week.
Oh, good.
And I want to thank you, Maureen, for coming on and sharing your story. And I know it touched my heart. I know it touched other people's hearts. Folks, Maureen is a member of my group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. You can be a past caregiver and join my group. You don't even have to be a caregiver at all, past or present. You could just be in my group and learn and educate yourself and be inspired. If you are a caregiver, please join my group and learn how to be an advocate. And if you have dementia, any kind of dementia, you're welcome to join my group. We welcome people from all walks of life. Dementia doesn't discriminate, and neither does my group. And if you missed any of this podcast, you can listen to it on Spotify, Spreaker, iHeart, Google, CastBox. Subscribe to my show. Look up Chatting with Betsy and subscribe, and you will be notified of when a new show comes on. And I appreciate everyone's support and subscribing and listening. Please read the blog. It's informative. If you want to contact Maureen, you can get to Maureen through me. My own Facebook page is Betsy Wurzel, Wurzel. You could PM me, and I'll send it over to Maureen. And Maureen and I just hit it off. I forgot how we met or how long we've known each other.
Jersey.
But it's been a pleasure. And folks, in a world where you could be anything, as the saying goes, be kind. And I want to do a shout out. Jeannie White, happy anniversary to us. Happy anniversary, my second year, Passion World Talk Radio. It was 2 years yesterday that I went on Jeannie White's show for the first time, which she had her caregiver series.
I know. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was something. I didn't realize
Thank
it
you.
was that long. Wow.
I can't believe it. Jeannie White is an earth angel to many, not just me, and changed my life. Doing this show and being on with Jeannie White in my deep, darkest days helped me stay focused on something positive. And folks, if you're down and out, go for help. There's no shame in it. I go for counseling. I'm not ashamed. Not ashamed of it.
No. I did too. I could not do it alone. I needed a very objective person, okay, to help me with that journey. So I am a real believer in therapy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And, just pat yourself on the back if you're a caregiver. You're doing the best you can. And if you're a past caregiver, you did the best you can, okay? Don't drive yourself crazy with a woulda, coulda, and shoulda. I know I did. Okay, I need to listen to my own advice. Better easier said than done. Yes. I'm going to do a show with you, Maureen, on guilt. Yes, it happens. Well, it does.
Really, that would be a very good show, okay?
Yes.
Because there is nobody who wasn't affected by that. But I also would like to say, Betsy, that the one, I think, absolute hallmark of our movement is that there is no judgment, folks. There will not be a judgment, okay? And you get the world gives you enough of that, okay? You don't have to come into a movement that gives you that, all right? So that's number one rule with Betsy is that there is no judgment. People do what they have to do.
Yes.
They do what they have to do.
Yes. And no bullying.
So, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
No bullying. And I created that so people would not be alone. I don't want anyone to be alone. I know what it's like. And to inspire people. And I just can't, thank like Lori Lepore enough, helping me start the group, inspiring me to do that. Jeannie White, thank God for Lillian Caldwell, who had the insight to start Passion World Talk Radio, to let people talk, to give people an opportunity that major radio stations won't give me the time of day, let alone talk on their show.
Right.
And here
we know who we're
at Passion
talking
World
about.
Talk Radio, yes, here on Passion World Talk Radio, you can speak your truth, you can share your story. Alzheimer's, it is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. This is June. If anybody wants to come on my show, PM me. You have a story to tell? PM me. Well, I'll get you on my show as soon as possible. This is the month, folks. Caregivers, we don't need a month. I still consider myself a caregiver. We don't need a month, okay? It's for the public. We need to tell the public, get out of your dementia closet and shine the light on this multiple disease, because it needs to come out of the closet. Bring your loved ones out of the closet. Show their pictures on your own Facebook page. Start doing advocacy, even on your Facebook page, and don't care what people think. Don't worry about it. I'm too old for that right now. You have to do what you have to do.
And I would also suggest what you did with Josh, that children are not going to be, they're not going to be scared of somebody, okay? It's all how it's handled, all right? And I think children, at least, my parents did that. We went every Sunday, okay? And it's how it's presented, okay? So I was never afraid, okay, of seniors or someone perhaps not, acting what people call normal, okay? I was never afraid of it because I was exposed to it. And I think that people should really revisit that and start realizing that children are a lot more, insightful and a lot more resilient than you give them credit for. And, and I think that, that it will certainly help them, as they become adults. I really do think that it'll make a very big difference in what they bring to their profession.
And that's another show, too. Yes,
that is really,
that's another topic, too, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
But you better have Josh on that one, okay?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I could.
Because he has a lot to give. Yep.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Well, thank you,
Well,
Maureen.
thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we're going to have more. Okay.
Yes.
So,
yes, we will.
All right. Have a great weekend, and I love that shirt on you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're a poster girl. You are definitely a poster girl.
Thank
you.
you.
Beth, have a good one. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you so much, Maureen. Bye-bye. Folks, this is Betsy Sloan. I am Betsy Sloan. That's my married name. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio. Till I chat again, be safe, be kind. Bye-bye.